Hello friends, and welcome to your virtual art class. I hope you've had a great weekend and you're ready to get creative today during our virtual class. We are going to explore a new artist today named James Rizzi and talk about his artwork and get started. I want you to understand that this is a two-part lesson. The first part you'll see today, and then the next part of the lesson will be next week. If you haven't already, please make sure you finish up your Square One art project and you send it in with the form into school. You can drop it off outside the art studio. There is a box that says Square One art artwork return, and you can put it in that box. Please make sure you fill out the form properly and that your name is actually also on the back of your artwork, and I will glue it on. Now, if by chance you lost your form or you haven't gotten around to do the Square One art project, that's okay. I just want you to understand there's extra forms out there and extra pieces of paper if you need it. And two, you need to make sure you turn that Square One art project into me by October 1st so that I can get them all glued and get them sent out. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is share my screen with you so that you can have a look-see at James Rizzi and what he's all about. So here we go. James Rizzi is a really fun artist, I think. This is one of his artworks. He was an American pop artist. This is a picture of him. He looks like a pretty funky guy. Love that hat. He was born and raised in New York, Brooklyn, New York. He was born in 1950 and he passed away in 2011. He was a pop artist. So a pop artist, I'll talk to you about that in a minute, but just a little bit about his work. In college, he developed this idea of 3D multiples. Now, 3D means 3 dimensions. So it is not just flat against the wall, but some of the objects that he creates actually pop out of the canvas. So what he would do is he would print an etching and then color it with like colored pencils or maybe watercolors. And then he used wire in order to make it 3-dimensional and kind of come off the page a little bit, which you can see here in this artwork. You see all these kind of shadows that are behind things right here. That's when you know that it has some dimension, that it's not just flat. 3D means that it has length, width, and height. He did this because he was taking so many different classes. He needed to make a lot of different projects for his drawing and printmaking and sculpture classes. So this was his solution. He would print something and then he would make it into something that was 3-dimensional. So you might be wondering what an etching is. An etching is when you take a really sharp tool, like what you see right here, and you carve it into a metal plate. It doesn't have to necessarily be a metal plate. It could also be a plastic plate. Then you put ink on the plate. You actually rub it into all those lines that you carved, and then you print the plate through a printing press, and you can kind of see that happening right here. So pop art is a style of art that's based on simple and bold images of everyday items. So one of the world's most famous pop artists was Andy Warhol. And you can see his work right here of the tomato soup can. I mean, we walk into Ingles and we can see Campbell soup, tomato soup. Well, one of Andy Warhol's artworks was painting this Campbell soup can in a large format or in a lot of different flavors of soup all put together. But he was taking something that is like a consumer item and then making it into artwork by painting it. So they also did this with things like comic strips. You can see this artwork here by Roy Lichtenstein is has that kind of comic book feel to it. They did that with like photos of celebrities and things like that. So here are some more of his artworks. Because he was from Brooklyn, he also did a lot of artworks about New York City. And one way I know this is about New York City is because the object right here, do you guys know what this is? You can kind of see it on the title of the artwork. The Big Apple is big on the Empire State Building. So this is a big old apple, and people call New York City the Big Apple. We can also see the Empire State Building right in the middle of this artwork. Here's another example of one of his artworks. And here are two more that I wanted to share with you. See, this one I didn't even know because, hello, it's the Statue of Liberty. And then he creates again that big apple shape down here on the bottom. So what are some other things that you notice about his artworks? I mean, these are all cityscapes. But what do you notice about the buildings? You can just take a moment to look at them and make some inferences. You know, one thing I notice is the shape of them. They all have really interesting shapes, I think. So if I look at this one kind of looks like the shape of a frog. Oh yeah, and this one here looks like the shape of a cat. And this one kind of looks like Frankenstein. But they all have, so there's a curly Q on top, they all have some interesting shapes. Shapes that maybe that we normally would not find in a building. I also notice, you know, the faces that are on the buildings. We don't always see buildings with faces, but I love these faces and the kind of maybe the emotion that they have about the city. And I also notice all of the details that he puts in these artworks. You know, just these simple shapes here that are created, these diamonds, these triangles, and so forth, created to make interesting patterns and to fill up space with detail. So this is an example of what we're going to be creating. We are going to be creating our own James Rizzi cities. So our learning targets, we have 4 of them. The first one is I can create a unique and original artwork that is inspired by James Rizzi. So looking at his artwork and using it as an inspiration or information to help create your own artwork. The next one is I can use a variety of shapes to create interesting buildings. I can fill the entire space of my paper with color and details. And I can use good craftsmanship when creating my artwork. Craftsmanship means the way you use the materials, not to making sure that things aren't too sloppy, making sure that you use them in the correct way, just making sure that you don't leave a lot of white space. Those are all parts of craftsmanship, all right? Just doing your very best work. All right, well, let's get started and work on our own pictures. So in your art pack, friends, you should have found kind of a larger piece of paper. It's thicker. This is watercolor paper, all right? If you have not picked up your art pack yet, that is okay. They are outside the art studio on the deck. They're in a box and they have the grade on the box. So that's the art pack that you would take. So you're going to need this piece of paper. You're going to need a pencil and an eraser and a Sharpie marker. Now, if you don't have a Sharpie marker today, that's fine. Please, if you decide that you're going to use a Crayola marker to kind of color in your faces and so forth, you're going to do that at a different time, all right? Because eventually we're going to turn our Crayola markers into watercolors, all right? So we're going to be adding water to this paper. So please don't use any markers, Crayola markers yet for drawing, because they are just going to get completely smeared, all right? So we are going to do our drawing with our pencil. The first decision you have to make is whether or not you are going to keep your paper landscape or you're going to turn it portrait. It's completely up to you what you would like to do. I am going to turn mine portrait. So there it is, all right? The other thing I'm going to make sure I do is, of course, I'm just going to lightly write my name on the back. Please don't write it huge, all right? Just in case you want to turn it over and use the other side if you don't like what's happening on this side. All right, so now I'm going to create my buildings. And one of the learning targets is using the work of James Rizzi to inspire your artwork. So if you look too at the handouts that I've connected on Google Classroom, you can see and gain some more inspiration of the cities, all right? So what I'm going to do is just draw my cities kind of in the foreground, in the front of my artwork, and I'm going to start off by drawing quite light, and then I'm going to make it darker so you can see it. But friends, make sure you start off drawing lightly, so in case you have to erase something, it's easier to do that. So you can see how light that is, but I'm going to make it darker right now so you can see what I'm doing. Guys, I don't have to use a ruler. I can just create, I'm just kind of making this stair-step building, all right? This is my very first building. I think I'm going to stop right about here though, because I have a feeling I might be making a smaller building down here. I'm going to add kind of a cone up here, all right? And then I'm going to add a face, and I have included in the Google Classroom a bunch of different faces you can use in order to make your city. So I'm going to start with some eyebrows here. All right. There we go. I'm going to make some big old eyes. And I'm going to make these eyes. He's kind of sleepy. And I'm going to make kind of a funny shaped nose. I could just make like a regular shape, but I'm going to kind of make a real nose shape. And there is his nose. And I'm going to have him kind of talking out the side of his mouth. So it kind of looks like a big sideways raindrop. And then I'm going to draw some teeth. So all of these simple shapes I built together to make kind of something that's more interesting. They don't have to be super complicated. Just kind of build on your shapes and create space without leaving a lot of blank space. Sorry, I had a little brain fart there. Anyway, so now I'm going to add some windows. And this helps break down this big building. Just like that, these rectangles, and they don't have to be perfect. All right. And I'm just going to keep going until I get that space filled. I don't want to make them too tiny because I don't want to spend the rest of my time making those little windows, but I could if I wanted to, of course. So I'm going to make a building behind this building. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm just going to make a regular rectangle. And again, I'm going to stop a little bit right here because I know I'm going to make another building down here. And I'm going to put a big ice cream kind of dome on this one. And I'm going to make this into a cherry. I think it's so fun that we can, you know, do this, not have to make just a city, but we can make it into something. And I'm going to make this a mint chip building. I'm just going to keep going and make these here. And I am going to make big eyes again, like that. And I'm going to put eyelashes on this one. I think an ice cream building should have eyelashes. So that's what I want to do. And I'm going to make kind of a more simple nose here. And I'm going to make a big smile. Like that. All right. And it kind of looks like he's laughing a little bit. So that's how I'm going to keep it. Now I'm going to make my other building just like this. And maybe I'm going to have a funky shape for it. Maybe it's a shark building or something. So you can see now this building is in front of this building. I'm going to add a few windows here on this one, but then I'll be done. Now, on this one, I'm going to put a flag on it. Maybe it's like a mountain building or something. I don't know. It's whatever you think. And the face, I'm going to put probably right in here, and it's going to have kind of smaller eyes. Here's his nose. And maybe he is hollering at people, come climb my building. Notice I'm not coloring in anything with my pencil. All right, then I'm going to make kind of a funky door here. And then I'm going to make some more windows. Notice how quickly I can fill up the space with these rectangles. Do they have to be rectangle shaped? Absolutely not. They could be circular if you wanted to. I'm going to put these kind of crosses in here to kind of break down the windows to make some more interesting shapes. All right. I'll put a little window here. All right. So I have 3 buildings so far. I want to try to create at least 5. All right. So I'm going to make this one go behind here. And it's going to be round on the top. And it's going to have some floppy ears like this, because I am making a doggo building. All right. So here are here is my dog building, and he's going to stick his tongue out. I want to make the whiskers. All right. And I think I'm going to make kind of a dog bone bow tie here for him. All right. And I'm going to make round windows like a ball, because my dog loves to play fetch. So I'm going to continue and do this whole thing. And friends, I am going to make one last building here, and I am going to make, let's see, maybe if you can decide what this might be. Have you figured it out yet? It is a fish building. So here is my fish building, right? And again, I'm going to make some round, windows. He's going to have some sharp teeth in here. All right. Now I'm going to make a sun up here, or it could be the moon, or you could have half sun, half moon. It's all up to you what you want. But I don't want you to leave just this big blank sky. All right. I'm going to put some cloud up here and a cloud over here. And you see how it goes off the page? That kind of adds some interest. Now, once I have my drawing all done, if you have a Sharpie marker, you can trace around the face, all right, so that it will stand out a little bit more. If you don't have a Sharpie marker, don't do this. You're done. You're right at this spot. You can be finished and wait until next week. So what I'm going to do is just outline the face. I am not really outlining anything else, just the facial features. All right, so I'm just going to continue to do that until I get all my face all done. And you can see how I've colored in certain parts because I know that I want them to be black, like the eyeballs. Okay, so I'm just going to continue outlining and going until I finish all of it. Remember, you're only doing this if you have a Sharpie marker, all right? Please do not do this with a Crayola marker because they will become all runny. I guess the other thing you could use to outline your face would be a black wax crayon, all right? That would be fine as well because that's not going to be washed away with the water that we're going to be using, right? If you haven't had time yet to go out and get some Crayola markers, then I would like for you to do that, to get some thick-tipped Crayola markers They will be important for this project and for the projects ahead. Now, if you decide to outline your buildings and all the other stuff as well, that's fine, but you don't have to. You just have to do the faces. All right? Capiche? Great. All right, so I'm going to continue with that, and you'll see it next time. We're going to end with a mindfulness activity, all right? Sometimes you'll hear someone say, hey, let's take 5 and relax, all right? Well, that's what we're going to talk about right now. Just find a spot. You can close your eyes. You can keep your eyes open, but just get it to a comfortable spot. Taking 5 allows us to calm down if we're angry or super, super excited. It allows us to gather our thoughts. So you can do this anytime you need to kind of regain your composure. All right? So we're going to breathe in, and we're going to count to 5. And then we're going to breathe out and count to 5. Are you ready? Breathe in. 4, 5. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can just count in your head. You don't have to count out loud. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you do that, be aware of your chest and your shoulders rising and falling. And when they fall, you can really emphasize that, just to kind of let that energy, real excited energy, kind of flow out of you. Let's do this one more time. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Friends, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoy creating your James Rizzi inspired artwork. I can't wait to see these when they're finished. When you do finish the drawing and the Sharpie bit, if you could please take a picture and either email it to me or attach it to the Google Classroom, that would be wonderful. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.